But anyway, I don't know if you caught the last part, but anyway, it was a $5,000 watch. I remember I had to claim the watch because, if you get a gift from a client, you don't want it to be seen as bribery. So, I claimed the watch. And so, but my boss was like, Victor, you've earned the watch. And to this day, we're talking a lot of years later, I still have that watch. My point is not about the watch, but finding ways to help your customer. I talked in the past about value for value. This is how you help your customers. Just find ways, creative ways to help them grow their business. And again, what I didn't expect was this long, this right here. I didn't expect it, I gotta be honest. So if we were to do lifetime value over that period, it was more than I expected. And the amount of commissions I made on that was incredible. But the amount of friends I made because of that was even more incredible. So on that note, you're catching me at the end of this. Again, I apologize. I don't know why the stream dropped. We're back up again. And I hope you got something out of this. For those of you who are joining me again, if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask. I'll hang out a little bit longer because, again, the feed dropped and I have no idea what happened. So Deepak, how you doing, man? Were you on the original? Great to be back to Build Sales Mastery. Were you just with me a little while ago, Deepak? Because like I said, everybody just fell off. So I'll just wait a little bit. But anyway, I'll try to answer questions. If not, we'll have to do this again. And again, I do apologize for this thing just dying. I don't know why. My screen just went like it was gone. And so I'll wait a little bit for you guys to jump on board. Again, if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask. I'll wait another 2 or 3 minutes and then I'm out of here. And if you missed the first part of this, again, just go back to the what we just did about an hour ago. I think we spent about an hour, so go back and look at the live stream, because I'm not doing that again. That was a long one. So go check that out. All right, Anand, you were there for Q3, Q4. I just started on my end. Okay, too bad. It was a good story. That was a good story, Hamid. I don't know what happened, Brian. I don't know what happened, man. We'll see what happens. You helped me with my skills. So I got some nice comment. Let me put this one right here. Let me just go through some comments and then I'll start wrapping this up, man. You helped me with my job in retail last year, but I wanted to take my skills to the next level when we talk about competing. How do you do that? It's such a broad question. I mean, you know what I mean? It's such a big question because, it's like there's so many ways you can take it to the next level. What I would recommend is I'm all about, reading. I'm all about studying other people, talking to other people, and then going out, trying it, see if it works. And so, remember the 1% rule we talked about if you were in one of my other live streams, that if you look at the 1% rule, if you improve 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37x better, 37. And so my point is every day, 1%. But what does 1% mean? And what I highlighted, if you remember, is that in any day, there are 1,440 minutes. And 1% of that is 14.4 minutes. So let's just call that 15 minutes. So what if you just improved 15 minutes every day, man? Call that your 1% every day. See, because I think, and somebody correct me if they got better numbers than I do, the amount of people that read a book, for example, I think it's only like 7 or 8% of the population that actually read a book. Think about that for a second. The majority of people don't read a book. They don't read. They don't consume new content. And the world is changing. If you're not consuming new content, I think you'll fall behind, man. So keep that in mind. Tarun said, let me see what you have here. Let me see what you got here, Tarun. Let me see if I can add that to the... Okay, so let me see. Do you feel that in the value trinity, safety is the new thing people are now looking in this pandemic? It's not so much just in this pandemic, Tarun. Human nature is human nature, but there is an extra added layer of, I don't know where this is going. And anything you can reduce that anxiety, I don't know where this is going, will help. So for example, if you give somebody a roadmap or a blueprint, that's one thing. But if you say, look, I'm gonna do this buyback program, and let's say over the next 3 months, let's say I'm talking to a client right now. He says, Victor, I want to make some new decisions, but I just don't know where the market is going. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, over the next 6 months, we don't know what's going to happen in the market. So let's kind of minimize our risk. Why don't I offer you X, Y, Z? And if in 3 months we don't see a turn, I'll pull that back, or I'll do this, or you'll do that. And then both of us will take a measured risk. What do you think of that? And I think those are the type of honest dialogues that you need to have with the existing clients. You need to acknowledge that the fact that there's some anxiety there. Overcoming that anxiety, I think is going to be hard, but acknowledging the anxiety and then figuring out a deal to minimize that anxiety. Notice I didn't say get rid of the anxiety. Minimize it might move the deal forward. So hope that helps, man. That's a good question, though. Thank you, Tarun. I appreciate you being on there all the time, though, man. Thank you. Deepak, 1% better every day. Brian, my man, who one day I still owe you the Wolf of Wall Street interview, man. I know I do, man. I know I do. I just wanted to know, how can I move from selling in retail to selling in a high level clients? Well, it depends who you want to sell to, Brian. So, for example, let's say that you're selling retail, average retail. Keep in mind, it really doesn't matter. But here's what matters. So let me just I'm going to do this to your brain if you don't mind. Your brain. Ask yourself, Brian, what are people looking for, man? What are people looking for when they want to buy something from you? They're looking for you to be a domain expert. I told a story about a couple of weeks ago about we went to Lowe's, which is like a Home Depot, Lowe's we have here, because we wanted to put in the wood floors. By the way, we put them in this past weekend. Well, I didn't, they did, but came out great. Anyway, so I remember when they called the manager, it was a real young guy. I mean, I think it was like a baby to me. You know, it was like 18, 19 years old, but I think he was like 22, 23. And Brian, I'm telling you, as soon as we asked him a couple of tough questions, we knew we were dealing with the real deal. Because not only was he able to respond to the question, he answered them like yes, no, and they would add some layers. But what you really need to do is consider this, and I'm like, and the more we asked him, the more like, where did this kid get this knowledge? And finally I asked him, dude, how do you know so much about wood at your age? He says, well, as a kid, I've been working with my father, So, you know, this is kind of what I've learned over the years. But it was amazing that once I sensed that he knew what he was talking about, then my anxiety went down. And that's what clients are looking for. So find a way to reduce the anxiety by demonstrating that you know what you're talking about. And again, maybe this just requires you to just study a lot, read a lot, learn a lot. And I'm glad, that's why you're here, right? So I'm glad you're here. Let me see. Why do you believe it's more important to a customer, price or relationship? Today, God, it's a trick question, TR Cannon, because it's too simplistic, it's too absolute. But I'll answer it. I won't shy away from it. How's that? If you're because let's look at customers. So let's answer this. Let's answer this in a measured way. Because I think this is where, sometimes I think, I'm not talking about you, just in general, we don't measure how we look at things. Now, I always use this line right here. I always use this Gaussian distribution curve right here, this bell curve to highlight. And I call this the 20, 60, 20 TR. Okay, talking to you, TR Cannon, right? So 20, 60, 20. I think there's always 20% who care about price. They don't give a rip about relationship. They want price, man. Okay? Then on this side, I think these people are more concerned about who they're buying it from than the price. We've all done that where we buy stuff from people. We know we're paying more, but we feel good about them. For example, I just mentioned putting in wood floors. I know I could have gotten a better deal if I'd gone directly to a contractor and probably saved about 5 or 10% of the deal, easily. But I've worked with Lowe's before and they never fail me. So for me, that extra 5 or 10%, that extra price, I'm willing to pay because of the relationship we've had in the past. Now, to your point, somewhere here, man, this is where it gets a little muddy, man. This is where you and I could have a debate about this. Because here in the middle, you know, the magic middle, right, is where it gets a little dicey. But I truly believe that if you're selling a commodity, so okay, let's kind of really expand on this. If I'm selling commodity products here, by the way, commodity, I can get them anywhere, but I'm selling complex here, right? So we'll call it simplicity, complex, simple to complex, and there's a continuum. I am saying that as you move towards the continuum of complexity, people want the relationship because they don't really care about the price. By the way, when I say they don't care about the price, it's not primary in many cases. But if you look at people who are more commodity driven, because that's what you're offering, then of course price is going to be like, well, why should I pay more? Because this is that. I mean, why should I pay $30 for a light bulb when I can get it for $10? Makes no sense. So hopefully I answered that question. That was a good one. Side T in the house. Always good to have you on here, man. Thank you very much. But hopefully that was a good question there, Side T. Thank you for joining me again. Appreciate that. Amin, thank you. Let me see. Rule. Okay. I'm consuming your content every day at 1% a day. Brian, you're awesome, man. Thank you again for joining me. Puppy dog clothes, AKA trial clothes. Yeah, I mean, there are different closes you can use, so I always tell people be careful with over exaggerating these uses, because here's a rule in selling. The rule in selling is you never want to get caught selling. Think about that for a second. You don't want to get caught selling. This pandemic, this looks like an interesting statement, this pandemic may change the whole market, and people may look for other alternatives than opting for cheaper. Yeah, man, it's a good point, right? Because sometimes, again, stay away from that 20% that focuses on price. Once I know somebody's focused on price, I'm like, ugh, next. And somebody will pay you more, man, so keep that in mind. Let me see. This one says, Deepak, this is a tough one. Can you have one live stream session exclusively on creating raving fans? I don't even know I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. I mean, the only way I create fans like you guys is I try to deliver great content, Deepak. That's it. Try not to waste your time. Sorry, that's my secret sauce. I try not to waste people's time. My philosophy is, man, I'm going to put out some nice energy. I'm going to put out some great content, right? And if you guys decide to buy, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But man, karma's always beautiful. It always comes back to me somehow. So what I would suggest is I would focus on the content that I'm putting out, because I want authentic raving fans. By that I mean I want people who actually enjoy the content, what I'm talking about. Because there's so many people out there talking about different things in sales as well as marketing and other things. But I'm hoping that, if I'm authentic with you guys, I like Victor. So that's the first step, right? Check. I like Victor. He's not that bad. 2, kind of a cool guy. 3, when I get on his live stream, he doesn't waste my time. There's usually some good content. And so I think that's the best way. That's my formula. I don't do the hype like, yo, man, join my podcast, man. We're going, I don't do all that. That's just like, that's just not me, not my style, man. So sorry. I can't help you. Let me see. So, Juka, my man. Motivated movie was a great one, real one. And I also like how relaxed the way you were dressed. All right, that's cool, man. That's a good movie, man. By the way, he's talking about, I have a documentary called The Motivator. It's on YouTube. It's for free. If you really want to understand me better, watch that movie. I think you'll get it, man. Hamid says, you're always the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Awesome, great advice, Brian. Again, I owe you the Wolf of Wall Street interview. One day, brother. And I like how much you get ready when going on stage. I think people don't realize that, Juke. I gotta explain that. By the way, in the Motivator, I actually show people how I prepare for a speech. In other words, people always say, are you unprepared? No, I know what I'm gonna talk about, but still I have to clarify my thoughts. I use a lot of, and Juke I know saw this, I use a lot of index cards. That's my thing, right? Remember this one? I did this and that collapsed thing. I did one. So what I do is I do index cards. Maybe I should do one on how I actually work on my brain to retain more content. And so one of the things is I got stacks of index cards. I mean, you guys got to see my stuff. I mean, if you want to see, you know what's embarrassing? Here, I'm gonna be embarrassing. This is what I do. You want to see what I do? If you're curious, man, I'll show you what I do. I'm always like drawing stuff like that out. I draw models a lot. So I got all kinds of notes. I mean, sometimes I just get into scribbling thoughts and ideas like that. Let me get you off here so you guys can see that better. But I mean, sometimes I'm just writing like that, and I'm not making this stuff up, man. Sometimes I just write things out because writing like helps me clarify things, so I write stuff out. I mean, I write a lot. This is like not even close to my real list. Look at this. I just write. And so when I'm writing, like, look, I just want to show you this. This is like real work going on here. All right. And then I draw curves like that just to try to understand things. And when I draw these curves, like what's this? This is called I call this the mastery curve. I should do one on this. See, I haven't even done a live cast on that one either. This is a management theory X, theory Y. I haven't done that one either. That one. This was on recognition. Haven't done that one either. Oh, this is a good one. I got to do this one. This is I talk about the Thorndike and Hawthorne effect in management. Oh, that's so good. I forgot about that one. Yeah. So anyway, you get the idea. And this, if you go downstairs with me, and there's more here, by the way. This is like separate list. So that's what I do. But what happens is that, like I said, when I'm going through stuff, and then sometimes I'm like just typing stuff out. Anyway, I digress. But I usually prepare my content. So when we're talking about that 1%, you want to be better, you want to be an expert, you want to know what others know. Most people don't know this, so insight, I'm going to share something with you. All right, This one I've never shared before, I think. I've never shared this. I'm not joking either. I don't think I've ever shared this one. So this falls under, I don't know what this one falls under. So, true story. So when you guys know I poor, right? Poor. I remember I went to my first restaurant when I was like 21. Like 21 is my first restaurant. And what I'm about to tell you right now, I'm going to show you how to get ahead of everybody else. I'm going to show you, but I got to tell you the story so it'll impact you, right? And so what happened was I graduated. Even though we were poor, my mother was always like, go to school, get the education, right? In Spanish. Tiene que ir a la escuela. Tiene que conseguir la educación. You know, she was always with the Spanish thing, right? And so I remember I would study. And I would study and get good grades. Not because I wanted to study and get good grades, because when I didn't study and get good grades, I usually got a spanking when I got home. So I was like, yeah, it's getting a little embarrassing. And so I graduated. Listen to this, man. I graduated third in my class in high school. Third. And I didn't even know it till about the last, maybe a couple of months before I graduated. They said, hey, you know, you're ranked third. And I go, really? And so I was like, oh, that's cool. That's all I really said. That was cool. And I was like, yeah, I was flying high because I was third in my class. Now, problem was that I was going to a public school over here in Chicago. Public school, right? And do I need to really talk about public schools, especially in Chicago back then? And so I graduated number 3. So this is my pond. I was number 3 in this little pond. That's a pond, right? Now I go to college. It's a bigger pond and I'm a smaller fish. And now I'm in college, and within the first month, maybe 2 months of being in school, I realized I couldn't compete. I could not compete with these guys. I just couldn't compete. And so I remember I had to drop all my classes. First half year, I dropped all my classes and I had to take what they call pre-college courses. The public school in Chicago did a horrible job in educating me. And the reason I got into that university, because the only reason I shouldn't have been in that university, but the only reason I got in was because I was ranked number 3. Because I had a high ranking, it was almost like benefit of the doubt. I later found out that I was actually on trial. What do you call that when you got a certain period where you have to prove yourself? And so I had a whole year to prove myself. But anyway, I made it through, graduated, got the engineering degree. So, but I always knew, I remember that going through those, it took me 5.5 years to graduate. And I remember it was like painful. Like there was a lot of times where I cried at my desk. I'm not joking for effect here. It's like I cried at my desk because I couldn't figure things out. And if you ever taken calculus and you understand calculus 3, triple Laplace transforms and things of that nature, you can see why I was crying a lot in physics. And the thing is, I lived in a neighborhood where, you know, people didn't even have a high school education, so there was nobody I could go ask. There was no tutors or mentors that you can go to. So it was quite the struggle. But anyway, went through it, graduated, and I always felt like I was behind. But you know, I learned that you had to just study a little extra. Now, here comes the secret. I go to corporate America, right? And immediately I could tell that I am not at that level. It's like, so when I was from here to here, if this was public school, the college folks were up here, I was not at that level. So I had to basically work my backside off just to get to that level. When I got to corporate America, it just felt I had that same feeling again, that whole thing right here in your stomach where you want to throw up because you're like, you know you can't compete. So then I'm going to tell you the one decision I made more than one, but the one that really changed the game for me, that I believe accelerated my career. And it happened one day when I went into my manager's office and he was reading a book, right? And he was reading a book, and I think it was Good to Great. I think it was Good to Great or some other book. But it was one of those books. And I was like, I remember just talking to him and he said, this is a good book. I said, and he told me about the book, and I just go, and then like an idea hit me when I walked out. Let me go buy that book. So I remember I went and bought that book. And again, I don't remember what the book was. I don't think it was Good to Great. It was something else. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I bought the book. And then I realized something, that when I knew that what was in the book, I remember the next time we talked, I said, hey, I read the book, we had a nice discussion. And I noticed our discussion now was different because we had this common platform that we could talk about, which was the book, right? And so that sparked something in me. And then immediately I said, you know what? What I'm going to do, because you got to think about it. And again, I don't want to put a twist on this one, but you know, you're a kid from the hood, right? You're a kid from the hood, man, and you're just trying to fit in. You're just trying to figure the game out, right? And what I realized was that once I started reading, this was the trick. This is what changed my life. I started buying every book they were reading. By they, I mean anybody who was above me. Don't care who it was, right? If you were above me, I bought the book. If I walked into your office, you're reading a book, I go, what are you reading? And if I didn't ask, I would look and see what they were reading. Now, unless it was some crazy book on statistics or some manufacturing process, which I didn't really care about, but I always found out what people were reading, what were the books they were reading, and I started reading those books. And then something began to happen. I'm not saying overnight. Over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, I began having conversations with people, and I could hold conversations because I was like, yeah, I read that book also. Yeah, I know what model you're talking about. I remember flying somewhere, and this guy starts telling me about a sales model. And I said, I don't want to correct you, but I feel like I need to. I said, that model you're talking about is not this company, it's that company. And he was like, no. He says, you're wrong, Victor. I said, well, you can look it up when you get back. And I remember, we never completed the conversation, but I knew he was wrong, and he's going to find out he's wrong. But I realized that having that type of information, reading what other people are reading, really keeping up your brain work here, right? As I talk about, ideas are like furniture. And if you don't put new ideas in there, you're just moving the old furniture around. So you have to keep putting new ideas, a new book, a new concept, a new idea is like a new piece of furniture. Then you put that piece of furniture in, and then maybe you throw some out that I don't believe that anymore. And you evolve that way. So to me, being able to read, being able to understand what other people understand was the trick that allowed me to transcend. Do you know what I mean? Because now people didn't look at me, they look at how much I knew, and we were having different conversations. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but it allowed me to do that, which is why I still think reading. What's funny? This will make you laugh. I never finished a book in college. I used to skim through them, which is why I probably didn't do well in my English courses, but I couldn't read a book. I didn't have the attention span to read a book. And so I still don't, which is why I only read, for like in the morning, I tried to read as much as I can. I've gotten better at it. So now I can stay focused for maybe 45 minutes, sometimes an hour if the book is good. But sometimes, man, it's hard, man. So anyway, let me go down here. We are refractory contracted. Our competitors has manufacturers tied up with products and customer. Probably long-term contracts too. So how do you sell to somebody who has a long-term contract? Again, it's a big question. It's hard to answer that right now. But I would have to look at what the contract is. The thing is, once they're bound by a contract over time. But it also depends. Keep in mind that when you're asking somebody, and who's this again? Akib, when you're asking somebody to switch over, you got to understand what is the mental effort to switch over and what is the physical effort to switch over. If the switch over effort is too big, they're not going to do it. And if they're going to do it, you have to do it over time and slowly. That's why it's a hard question to answer. So it's a tough one, man. You're the dude with the YouTube ad, right? This one? Who's this? You're the dude with the YouTube ad. No, I'm not the dude with the YouTube ad. I don't know. I don't think I am. But if I am, there you go. TJ says, better late than never. Will omnichannel marketing be a thing to focus on? And Vikram Krishna. What a great question, man. So omnichannel marketing, I believe it will be, man. Vikram, I did a presentation. By the way, he's talking about instead of marketing through one channel, obviously use omni-channel, different channels. And then it's the aggregation of that, is really understanding that data that's going to determine your marketing strategy. One of the things, Vikram, I think you might be interested in, one that's blowing me away right now, is billboards. I don't know if you've seen, hit me with a one if you heard about the evolution in billboards, Vikram. But right now is that they can have, and I'll take you down for a second, Vikram, here. What they'll have is like, if you can think about, okay, this is you leaving your house. That's a car, all right? By the way, totally digress, but it's a fun topic. Here's you leaving the car, and you're going to go to the mall to buy something, right? So there's the mall, right? That's the mall. You're going to buy something. You're going to walk around in the mall, right? And then you're going to come out, and you're going to go back home. Something like that, right? So that's your whole process for buying. Well, the thing is, with your phone, they know when you've left your house, right? That's your phone. They know when you left your house. So there's a timestamp there. Along the road, you're going to see billboards, right? And what they're doing with billboards now is that they now have cameras. I don't know how you draw a camera, but that's it. They now have cameras, which can now detect your car, right? And based on that data, and it's all anonymized, longer subject. But anyway, so they're going to take your license data, they're going to take your phone data, and they're going to triangulate that you're going to pass by this billboard. And then the billboards are actually going to change advertising based on whatever wants or needs you might have. This data comes from all your online searches and everything you looked at online and whatever preferences you had. If you went into Alexa and you asked for something, they have that data. They know where you're going to pass by the billboard, and they're going to show you billboard ads. I mean, it's amazing. So that's going to be a new channel that's evolving. And by the way, once you're in the mall, they have these kiosks now. So the kiosks now are going to have cameras, which they already do, but they're going to be more intelligent, which means when you pass by the kiosk, they're going to say, hey, this is the person, because I can track them by their phone, right? And because they probably have facial recognition, eventually they'll know it's you. And they'll probably, as you're passing by, let's say you're the only person, they're going to put up an ad they know you're going to like of a product in the mall that you're probably going to want. That's the future, man. Yeah, it's pretty scary. And this is my man who says, can I see you? Yan, I see you, brother. I see you. Sure. Okay, I got you, man. This is interesting. P-Base, you're back, man. Hey, man, welcome back, P-Base. Price-focused clients always require so much maintenance. They complain about it. You're so right, man. Because if they came on money, they'll leave on money, P-Base. And they're usually the ones that complain and whine the most, man. So that's why sometimes you don't want certain clients. So that's a great point. All right, man, I'm going to start wrapping up. Gaming, let me see. By the way, your little story is a great example of telling is selling. Yeah, there you go. See, you got that. See, you understood that, right? That there is a way of telling a story, but you should always observe how I'm telling the story if you really want to learn how to tell a story. Does that make sense? Let me say that again. As I was telling the little story, you should listen to the story. But what you should also be paying attention to is how I tell the story. Like that, you can learn how to tell better stories, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm out of here. Let me wrap this up. Hey, you know what I'm going to ask you to do, right? All I ask you to do is either you sign up for that or share this link with at least one other person, man. Just one other person. Let them know I'm out here, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Okay, guys? Take care.